The film unfolds as a fragmented multi-layered story that weaves together several lives in a modern European city, gradually revealing a deeper, almost metaphysical connection between its characters. It begins with a quiet, mysterious tone, a conversation about souls that do not realize they are dead and continue wandering, needing an escort to guide them out of their confusion. This idea becomes a central metaphor for the entire narrative, suggesting that many of the characters are spiritually lost, disconnected, or living without true awareness of themselves or others. At the heart of the story is a seemingly ordinary but deeply fractured family. Milena and Tim are a married couple struggling with emotional distance and unresolved trauma. Milena is a consultant working on international development projects, often traveling and preoccupied with abstract discussions about society progress and marginalized populations. Tim, meanwhile, appears more grounded but equally disconnected, unable to communicate meaningfully with his wife or children. Their marriage is strained, marked by routine, resentment, and a lack of intimacy that both recognize but cannot fix. Their children, Frida, John, and Dio, each represent different forms of disconnection. Frida is rebellious and searching, drifting through nightlife and experimenting with drugs, trying to feel something real. John is immersed in virtual reality gaming, retreating into digital worlds where he has control and purpose unlike in his real life. Dio, younger and more sensitive, oscillates between innocence and awareness, observing the dysfunction around him while trying to maintain a sense of wonder. Parallel to this family runs the story of Farah, a Syrian refugee who was once a trained medical professional in Aleppo but now struggles to find meaningful work. Despite her education and skills, she is pushed toward low-paying, unfulfilling jobs, highlighting the systemic barriers faced by immigrants. Farah's storyline contrasts sharply with Milena's privileged but empty professional life, exposing the inequalities and contradictions of the modern world. A key event that ties the narrative together is the sudden death of a woman named Maha, who had been loosely connected to the family. Her death shocks them not only because of the loss but because they realize how little they actually knew about her. This realization becomes a turning point, forcing each character to confront their own superficial relationships and emotional isolation. Maha's death acts almost like a rupture in reality, opening a space where deeper truths and hidden connections begin to surface. As the story progresses, reality itself becomes increasingly unstable. Characters experience visions, dreams, and altered states of consciousness that blur the line between life and death, self and other. Milena in particular undergoes a profound psychological and spiritual crisis. During therapy, she recounts a traumatic experience during the birth of her children where she felt paralyzed and believed she was leaving her body. This near-death-like experience seems to echo the film's opening idea about wandering souls, suggesting that part of her has never fully returned. After attending Maha's funeral, Milena's sense of identity begins to unravel. She questions who she is, repeating phrases like "I am me, but that's not me," as if herself has split into multiple fragments. She experiences hallucinations and voices urging her to show yourself, implying that she must confront a hidden or denied aspect of herself. These moments are intense and disorienting, reflecting her internal struggle to reconnect with reality and her own emotions. Meanwhile, the family dynamic deteriorates further but also becomes more honest. In a powerful dinner scene, the children openly criticize their parents and themselves, acknowledging their collective hypocrisy and complicity in global problems like environmental destruction and social inequality. They recognize that their comfortable lifestyle is built on contradictions. They criticize systems they continue to benefit from. This confrontation is raw and uncomfortable, but it marks a rare moment of genuine communication. Farah gradually becomes integrated into the family's life, offering a different perspective shaped by loss, displacement, and resilience. Her presence introduces a quieter, more grounded form of connection. She forms a subtle bond with John through his virtual reality world, where she learns to navigate the game and symbolically the structures of his inner life. This interaction suggests that even artificial environments can become spaces for real human connection when approached with openness. The film also explores broader societal themes through Milena's professional work. Her discussions about target groups, social transformation, and communication strategies reveal a detached, almost cynical approach to solving global issues. These scenes contrast with the personal struggles of the characters, highlighting the gap between abstract policy thinking and lived human experience. The film questions the way modern society often reduces people to data points or problems to be managed rather than individuals with complex emotional realities. As the narrative builds, the idea of escort from the beginning returns in a more symbolic sense. The characters begin to act as guides for one another, helping each other confront truths they have avoided. Milena's breakdown, though painful, becomes a catalyst for transformation. She starts to see the walls between herself and others, recognizing both the separation and the possibility of overcoming it. Frida's inner turmoil becomes more visible through surreal sensory sequences that blur reality. She experiences intense physical and emotional sensations, suggesting trauma, guilt, and confusion. Later, guided by a quiet, almost ritual-like moment, she is encouraged to imagine the unborn child and say goodbye with love. This scene is deeply symbolic, presenting her abortion not just as a physical event but as an emotional and existential rupture that she must process in order to move forward. Meanwhile, Farah's presence in the household grows more significant. She connects with John through his virtual reality game, learning how it works and participating with genuine curiosity. The game itself becomes symbolic. Players guide others through portals into new leagues, echoing the film's recurring idea of escorting lost souls. Farah's calm, attentive nature contrasts with the family's chaos, and she gradually becomes a stabilizing force, someone who listens without judgment. Her backstory is revealed in detail, adding emotional weight to the narrative. Once a medical professional in Syria, she describes her life before the war, her education, and her belief in social change during the Arab Spring. That hope was destroyed by violence, forcing her and her family into survival mode. She recounts the bombing of hospitals, the destruction of her home, and the painful decision to flee alone so her family could survive. Her journey by truck, ship, and on foot highlights both her resilience and the immense cost of displacement. Now despite her qualifications she is reduced to cleaning jobs, embodying the injustice of a system that wastes human potential. At the same time Milena's professional life begins to collapse. Her project, a cultural initiative meant to help marginalized communities, faces bureaucratic obstacles and ultimately loses funding. This failure exposes the emptiness behind her work. Despite her passion and effort she is trapped in a system driven by paperwork, deadlines and political indifference. Her frustration builds until she breaks down emotionally, revealing how overwhelmed and powerless she feels. The tension at home reaches a breaking point in a violent argument between Milena and Frida. Years of resentment erupt as both accuse each other of neglect and misunderstanding. Milena lists the sacrifices she made as a mother while Frida counters that none of it resulted in real emotional connection. The argument culminates in Frida revealing her abortion, a moment that shocks Milena and exposes how disconnected they have become. This confrontation strips away all pretense, leaving only raw pain and truth. Tim too faces a personal crisis. In therapy he admits his deep insecurity and his desire to be truly seen by his wife, not just as a provider but as a person with emotional needs. Yet he struggles to express this vulnerability in real life. His work life also collapses when he is suddenly dismissed from his job, further destabilizing his identity. The loss forces him to confront how much of his self-worth was tied to his professional role. Farah emerges as a quiet guide through these crises. She introduces Tim to a strange therapeutic device, a flickering light designed to stimulate brain activity similar to near-death experiences. According to her, it can help people detach from fear and see their lives more clearly, reconnecting with fundamental states like trust and love. Though he is skeptical, Tim eventually tries it, suggesting a willingness to confront himself in a new way. Meanwhile, Milena travels to Nairobi where her professional and personal conflicts collide. She meets Godfrey, the father of her child Dio, and reveals her plan to move permanently to Kenya for a new job. Their conversation quickly turns confrontational, exposing unresolved resentment. Godfrey accuses her of selfishness and emotional distance, arguing that she has always controlled the narrative while leaving him to adapt. Milena in turn struggles to justify her choices, torn between her ambition and her responsibilities as a mother. The exchange highlights themes of privilege, cultural misunderstanding, and the imbalance of power in relationships shaped by global inequalities. At the same time, Milena's failing project takes an unexpected turn. After losing all funding, she is devastated, believing her work has collapsed. However, her colleague Jolene surprises her with good news. A local network in Nairobi has independently secured new funding for the theater project. This moment undermines Milena's sense of control and importance. What she thought depended entirely on her can continue without her. It forces her to reconsider her role, not as a savior or central figure but as one part of a larger collective effort. Back in Berlin, the family begins to tentatively reconnect. Milena engages with John's VR game, awkwardly at first but gradually with enthusiasm, sharing in his world and experiencing a rare moment of joy together. These small interactions signal a shift. Instead of avoiding each other, they begin to participate in each other's lives. Yet beneath this progress lies a deeper tension, as all are aware of the upcoming session with Farah. When the day arrives, the atmosphere becomes ritualistic and unsettling. Farah prepares the environment, carefully arranging lights and giving them a drink that seems to initiate the process. She asks for complete trust, framing the session as a journey into fundamental human states similar to birth or death. As the lights flicker and the participants close their eyes, the experience intensifies into something overwhelming and surreal. Each character is thrust into a chaotic, dreamlike sequence that appears to merge personal memories, fears, and collective trauma. The boundaries between their individual experiences dissolve. They encounter scenes of suffering, war, and confinement echoing Farah's past in Syria, including bombings, escape, and the terror of being trapped. The imagery becomes increasingly intense: suffocation, panic cries for help, and the presence of death. It is as if they are not only witnessing Farah's trauma but embodying it, forced to feel what she has lived through. At the same time, these visions seem to connect with their own inner struggles: Milena's fear of losing control, Tim's sense of inadequacy, Frida's unresolved guilt, and John's retreat into virtual worlds. The experience strips away their defenses, confronting them with raw vulnerability. The idea introduced at the beginning of the film, lost souls needing guidance, now becomes literal and shared. They are all wandering within their own confusion, and this session acts as a collective escort through it. The intensity reaches a breaking point with screams, chaos, and the sense of imminent death before gradually subsiding. As the experience fades, the characters are left physically and emotionally exhausted, gasping for breath as if they have passed through something transformative. The use of music, including fragments of Bohemian Rhapsody, underscores the dramatic, almost operatic nature of this passage between despair and release. In the end, the film does not offer a clear resolution but suggests a profound shift. By sharing this extreme experience, the family has confronted not only their personal issues but also the broader realities they had ignored: war, suffering, inequality, and emotional disconnection. The session forces them to recognize their interconnectedness, both with each other and with the wider world. The closing moments imply that true change does not come from abstract discussions or superficial efforts but from deeply felt understanding and empathy. Through pain, confrontation, and shared vulnerability, the characters begin to move out of their isolated states. They are no longer entirely lost but have taken the first step toward awareness, connection, and the possibility of healing. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.